ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Monday, April 14th. Your drive is ready to go right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour, it's brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. We got a lot to get into this week. We're going to focus mostly on the spring game. Saturday was fun, beautiful weather, great turnout from Herd fans. They were looking for that 10,000 mark. I think they got it. I was sitting there doing head counts early and like, okay, they're still coming in. So it looked legitimately the 10,000 that Coach Gibson was wanting. So were you at the game on Saturday? If you were, I'd love to hear your reaction to what you saw. And, of course, afterwards we had the halftime. Technically, we had a half of a game. Then the halftime where a lot of the Herd alum came back. That was great. And then it was sort of a fan day. And I thought that was cool. The way that Marshall did that, I actually liked it. You got a full half of a game, so Coach Gibson got what he needed out of that practice. And then you got to welcome back a lot of Herd faithful, a lot of Herd alum players. You made them feel like they are still part of the program. And we've got Coach Gibson talking a little bit about that. We're going to hear that in a few minutes. And then you had a chance to come on down the field, get some autographs signed. It was pretty casual. Everybody was well behaved. There wasn't any problem. They didn't have too many tables. I know they had some tables for the coaches, but it was sort of a free-for-all. But I think it worked for the most part, and it was a great way for a lot of these kids to maybe get a true introduction to what Marshall fans are all about. And we're going to hear from a lot of the players this week. But couple we're going to hear from today. Carlos Del Rio Wilson. He was outstanding at quarterback. And then also, I think one of our new favorite players is going to be Boogie Trotter. Boogie Trotter is definitely going to be a standout. And the one thing I liked about Boogie was his energy. That second quarter, he had that 48-yard interception return for a touchdown. And that put the game 24-0. And yeah, it was slanted towards the green. Green, white, slanted towards the green. And I thought that was a great opportunity for some of the players that maybe haven't had a chance to go up against the ones, and it's been ones-on-ones for the most part. So now you had some guys out there that were really trying to do some things, make an impression. They're not on the ones. So they were trying to do some things out there, and I thought that for the most part, it gave sort of a flow. You got to see a little bit more flow. Okay, this is what it might look like. This is the foundation. This is the structure of what this might look like as a team. So throw the score out. Obviously, the score is not indicative of what we were looking for, but Boogie Trotter is probably one of our favorite players now. And Carlos Del Rio Watson, I was impressed with him. I really was impressed with him and what he did. If you just look at the statistics alone, Boogie Trotter had 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, that one for 48 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 pass breakups. And then, of course, on the passing side, Carlos Del Rio Watson was 5 of 7, had 113 yards. Also, Zion Turner was 4 of 5 for 73 yards, 1 interception. Jaquai Long, he was shut out, had a couple of passing attempts, didn't get anything there. But I think we saw something out of Del Rio Watson. We saw something out of Boogie Trotter. And another player that is really energetic, Javay Gilmore. I hope I'm saying that right. And if I'm not, I apologize, because I'm still learning some of these players, as some of us are still getting introduced to them. But Gilmore, 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, had 7 yards on that sack. That was impressive. So we're going to hear from Boogie Trotter a little bit later on. We're also going to hear from Carlos Del Rio Watson, and we're going to hear, if we have time, from Gilmore as well. But we're going to get into kind of what Coach had to say about the game. We'll do that with you in just a few minutes. And we're going to open the text line up here in a few minutes as well. Let me give that number one more time. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. What were your impressions of what you saw on the field Saturday? And then what did you think of what happened afterwards with the returning players, the Herd greats, Herd all-timers, the alumni, those guys getting out there. And I thought it was really cool what Coach made sure that his team did. Had his guys go out there and shake those players' hands. And Coach will comment about that. And I think that was something that shows me that this coaching staff right off the bat gets it. And I heard some people as I was walking the field on Saturday trying to track a few players down to talk to, had a good opportunity to just kind of overhear some conversations, just listen to fans talking. And I got the impression just from listening in on a couple of conversations, that a lot of people liked how this coaching staff and how Coach Gibson approached bringing former players back, how made those people a part of this team as if they've never left, and how welcoming he is. And I think it really showed a lot of people that this coach is in it. He's in it for the long run. He's in it to build a program at Marshall University. And again, I know I'm being a little redundant now, but he gets it. Or at least that was my impression. So I felt he got it. I liked what I saw. I think the offense looked good. Little diversity there. I felt like, whoa, a deep pass. I haven't seen one of those in a while. I know I'm being a little sarcastic, but it's true. So I'm going to leave it for you right now. I can talk about the game all day long. I want to hear from you. So now I'm going to open it up. And one more time, our text line, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. What were your early impressions of what you saw on Saturday during the spring game? Who stood out to you? Do you have a new favorite player, or at least a new favorite player from this batch of players? And what were your overall thoughts on how Coach Gibson approached the practice, approached the game? So far, so good. He won Saturday. And you know what else I liked about Coach? And this is what I like about him in general, but he didn't come out wearing a suit, showing off his wardrobe. He came out to coach a game. He came out to lead men on the field and get the business and still be personable and have fun and have a good time. He's relatable. He's not trying to show me that, hey, look, I got a great tailor. Okay, I get it. You look good, Coach Huff. I get that. You're trying to make an impression. And, I know he did that again. He was showing off for the new fans at Southern Miss. He had his suit on. And I like Coach, and that's his style. But Coach Gibson, to me, just came out. Coaching staff came out. Hey, let's just get after this. I think this team's going to be tougher. I like that defense as well. We haven't even talked about, really, the defense. I know the offense had some fun out there, but the defense, I really think that this defense, once it gets cooking, I feel good about it. I feel good about the attitude. I feel good about the defensive focus on this team. And I know Coach Gibson's going to be putting a special eye on that defense. If you're on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to see a lot more of Coach. After all, he's a defensive guy. So if Marshall doesn't have a good defense, Coach is probably going to take it personal. So we'll get into all of that. And, of course, it was a good weekend for Marshall all around. Saturday, everybody won. That was great. Marshall won the Spring Cup against Michigan State in soccer. Unfortunately, Sunday couldn't get it done on softball and baseball. But soccer got its championship. Golf is in action. We've got tennis to talk about. We'll try to get all of that in, but I want to focus on the spring game with you. So we'll do that when we continue. First up, Coach Gibson. We'll get his general thoughts and what he had to say about the game and the team. Later on, we'll get into some player reaction. All of that when we come back from break. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 at AM 930.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for being a part of today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And if you miss anything today, or you just want to go back, hear something again, we've got you covered. You can listen to us on our podcast. We make that available every day. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. You can You can listen to the show. Also, you can go to our website, wrvc.com. We've got the link there and all the different services that the show is available on. It's completely free. All you have to do is hit that like, subscribe button, whatever it is that your service has, and you can even get the show automatically downloaded to you. It's our podcast, totally free, and the best place to start to get it every day is at wrvc.com. Our text line this hour is brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Let's get into what Coach Gibson had to say as the head coach spoke to the media after halftime. And I do like this format. I'm not going to lie to you. First, I thought, hey, why don't we just have two halves here? But I like what the Herd was doing, and I completely give it a thumbs up. And it was a great way to get a lot of fans involved as well. Good turnout. But we were there to watch real football and almost live quarterbacks. There were a couple of exceptions there, but quarterbacks were live. That gave them a little bit more sense of, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to do something here because that guy's coming for me. But Coach Gibson, his general thoughts on how the day went.
So it was good to get out today in front of a crowd and see what we could do with coaches off the field, and impressed with some things, a lot of things. Turned the ball over way too much, in my opinion. A couple tip throws. I thought defensively they did a really good job on the green team of taking advantage of those. Thought Carlos did some really good things, moved the ball, a lot of scoring drives. But we still have a lot of work to do. We have a couple more weeks this semester, and we're not going to stop now. We're going to keep pushing forward.
So more time to get ready for the fall, but we got to now move on to player evaluation. We're getting to that point where the transfer portal is going to come into play. Is this going to be the same team we will see in the fall? I can probably answer that for you right now. No, there's going to be some changes, maybe to the good. You might lose a couple of players. You might gain a few players that come in and really fill in some holes. So the next thing for Coach has to be, as far as this team is concerned, it's got to be player evaluations.
Right now, we had guys that played today that may not be here tomorrow. So, it's a crazy time right now. But our goal as a staff is to get guys that want to be here and coach them up and get those guys ready. So we have a few more guys joining us for summer that we'll get in here and see where we're at in August.
And we joked about it earlier in the last segment, if you weren't with us, the fact that green team was loaded. The white team played well, but it was ones versus twos, if you want to break it down to that level. It's been good on good the entire spring. So now the ones went up against the twos on both offense and defense, and you might think to yourself, well, that doesn't make for an entertaining day. Well, yeah, actually it did, because you got to see the potential of what the ones can do, and I honestly thought that the twos played well. You knew there was a difference between the green and the white. You just knew that after the first few plays. Okay, we know which team Coach favors it, and that was kind of the joke when we were talking to him after the game about how loaded that green team was, but there was a reason for that.
Yeah, that was the staff and myself. We wanted to let these guys get out and have some success today and start playing together and gelling together and all those things. So, and there were guys on the white that are going to play, no question about it. And we need to put them in some situations to see how they could do against the ones, because all spring it's been good on good. So it was good to see that today. A couple guys made some plays.
He's right. White team did put up a fight, and that's what you want to see. You want to give those guys an opportunity to go out there and prove to themselves and prove to Coach that they belong. Goes back to player evaluations. You might have some players that aren't going to be with the Thundering Herd. And we're getting to that point now where roster management is going to be even more important. When you have the max allowed, it's not you have to have this amount. This is the max allowed. And so some programs might reach that maximum level. Some are going to hit that maximum level. And I think Marshall's going to be one of those programs to make sure to maintain for football the maximum roster limit. But that means you're going to have some conversations. You can't just carry everybody on the team. And so there might be some players that have to have a conversation. Look, we like you, but we don't think you're going to play here. Have those conversations early. Give those kids an opportunity to maybe find a different spot, a different landing spot. At least I haven't heard of anyone asking for some crazy NIL deals, if you know what I mean. So What's next for this staff? What's next? Here's what Coach Gibson had to say when he was just flat out, hey, what's next now for you, Coach?
So right now we'll give the kids a couple days off, have a lot of one-on-one meetings, position coaches, myself, let every guy know where they stand on our football team and what's next for them and what's next for us. And then we'll have, some open weight room hours, guys that get in and work out, and then we have to finish strong academically. That's the most important thing moving forward right now.
And I agree with him. You have to have those conversations. At the same time, you got to remember, these are still student athletes. I know name, image, and likeness. I know the transfer portal, that has muddied the picture completely. But I think at a school like Marshall, that's still important because Marshall's not going to go out and outspend anyone for players. You're not coming to Marshall because you're going to get a contract or you're going to get a big NIL deal. You want to come to Marshall because you want the education, you love football, you love Coach Gibson, you love the community, you want to play, you want to learn. There's going to have to be so many more reasons why you come to Marshall. There's not going to be a huge check cut. That's just the reality here. As much as I would love to see Marshall being able to compete with the big boys when it comes to the cutting the checks, that's just not the reality here. And so these players, when you see them in the community, when you talk to them at events, and I got the impression from a few of them, and we'll get into that more this week, that they love this. They thought that this was great. The community cares. The fountain ceremony made impression on all these players, and we'll also get into that a little bit more throughout the week. But that was the impression I got from a lot of these players is, hey, this is, football actually means something here. It means more. And they got that message, and they got it not just from the coaching staff, but they also got it from the fans. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. So you've heard from Coach. Now let's hear from a couple of players. What's your impression of quarterback Carlos Del Rio Wilson? What'd you think of him? Did you like what you saw out of him? Did you get a chance to talk to him during the fan session? We'll open the text line back up for you. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. But when we continue, I know Coach Gibson's not naming a starter, but I think we're close. I think we got our starter. Still a lot of football to be played in the practice portion of the schedule, but still, I think we've got our quarterback. We'll talk to Carlos Del Rio Wilson when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate you. Check in with Dave tomorrow, 10:06, right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. He'll get your day started off right, or he'll get your blood pressure going. Either way, tomorrow it's Metro News Talk Line, 10:06 on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Looking back at the spring game from Saturday, Marshall got the win over Marshall. Do we even know? 41-0 win, green beats the white. You remember once upon a time where you had sort of a mixed roster and the winners would get steak and the losers would get hot dogs? Yeah, that was fun back in the day, but I don't think you can do that kind of stuff anymore because you really got to evaluate this team. And being this is a first-year head coach and this is a brand-new team, and that might be something we keep saying every year, brand-new team, brand-new team. You wanted to have a situation where you got to see what the finished product, at least spring-wise, kind of looks like. And I think you got a good evaluation. And you got a good look at quarterback Carlos Del Rio Watson. Even had a 4-yard touchdown run. That made it 31-0. If you look at his numbers, he was 5 of 7, 113 yards. I thought he looked good, held himself where, well, he was fun to talk to as well, and I got a chance to catch up with him after the game. And the way that he approached the green and white game, the spring game, whatever we're calling this thing, he said he came out and he wanted to treat it like it was a real game.
Coming out here, I already had it determined in my head that I'm going to treat this like a real game. So I came out there with the mentality that, the white team is another team, honestly. So I just went out there and wanted to perform and showcase my talent. So that's kind of what I did.
Yeah, that's what he did. He went out there and showcased himself. And, of course, Coach Gibson had some really positive things to say about potentially, he's not giving it up yet, but potentially could be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I thought Carlos has had a really, really good 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks of spring, he's kind of separated himself and, doing some good things. The competition is still open. I'm not going to name a starting quarterback right now. Him, Zion, and Ja'Kai are all guys that are going to battle. We threw some young guys in today, got their first reps. So it was good to see them in live action when they're live as well. Sometimes you can't really get a read if you tell them you're not live. They'll stand in the pocket all day long, and so I wanted to put a little heat on them today.
No standing in the pocket, and you kind of felt that there was that vibe, like, okay, yeah, you're safe, but you're not. They're coming after you, and they're going to hit you within reason. So you're going to get banged up a little bit. So in Carlos's words, how well do you think he performed? Well, this is his evaluation.
There was still some stuff I could have cleaned up that I need to clean up. I definitely focused on being more determined on my decision making. So out there, sometimes I was a little too determined. Like, I'll probably prejudge it. Then based on the play, based on what the defense do, I would need to move. But I feel like I definitely went out there with a leadership mentality today and led offense.
Confidence. He was pretty humble as well, and he was out there. Fans seemed to really take to him. And I think that he was impressed with the fact that there were a lot of people that showed up, came out to see the spring game. It's a spring game after all. It's not a real game. They keep score, sure, but this is it's a practice, and you get to come in and you get to watch the practice. But it's not the real thing. It's not football in fall. So what was his thoughts on just coming out there and actually seeing that crowd? A lot of people showed up for the spring game.
I'm not sure how true it was, but today, Coach said today might have been the most fans that we done had at a spring game. So now that definitely felt good and made us want to play a little bit harder.
So they appreciated it. Everybody that showed up, they appreciated the support. They got a real nice introduction to what Marshall football is all about. So that's Carlos Del Rio Watson. We'll hear more from him throughout the rest of the week. Another player we get a chance to look at, and I think he's going to be one of our favorites. At least he's going to have one of our favorite names, Boogie Trotter. Boogie Trotter. It's just fun to say, Boogie Trotter. In that second quarter, you remembered him for that 48-yard interception return for touchdown. That made the game 24-0. He had 2 tackles, 2 interceptions, again, 1 for a touchdown, had 2 pass breakups. He is energetic, and he talked about what he thought his performance was like after the game. And obviously, there should be sound there right now, and there is not.
Yeah, it was a great day. We've been preparing all spring. Coach been giving us the little details. Every coverage. I caught a pick 6 today too. I just read my keys. Coach been telling me all week like they're gonna come to the boundary. So when I seen the quarterback turn, I just went ahead and took off and went. Next thing you know, I'm in the end zone. So really just preparing. I just prepared great all week. And that just helped me play good today.
Do you think he played well? I think he played well. And one thing that we're starting to learn about this team, and of course we're getting into a situation where you've got a head coach that has that defensive eye. And so what's it like knowing that the coach is going to be keeping his eye on you?
Coach Gibson know a lot about football, man. And especially him being on as a defensive coach, he know a lot of details in and inside out of our defense. And that just helped me learn faster, and it really helped me be a better corner, a better defensive back, period.
Also, I just kind of wanted to get an idea from him. Since he's new, he hasn't been at a Marshall event really yet, what he thought about the support that he saw from the fans on Saturday.
This is like a great turnout. Like, community is all here. They're here. Like, it's packed out stadium. That's just great experience. Great experience playing in front of people who actually care for you and who actually go with you right or wrong. That's a great experience.
That is defensive back Boogie Trotter. All right, I got one more. Let's hear from linebacker J.V. Gilmore. What did Mr. Gilmore do on Saturday? Well, let me tell you. If you weren't there, what you missed from him was 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a sack. 7 yards on that sack. he was a standout for the green team. What did he say after he was told that a lot of people in the press box were talking, coaches were talking about how he just took over the game? Well, actually, you know what? Before I go with that one, I want to hear Coach Gibson's comments about him. Coach Gibson had a really descriptive way to describe J.B. Gilmore.
Yeah, he's a creature. So, but I love the way he plays, and again, he's starting to really come into his own. Took him a few weeks to get adjusted to how we play, what we want out of him, and coming off the edge and doing some things. I mean, he's long, athletic, physical kid, so really like where he's at.
Now here's Gilmore talking about how he took over the game.
Yes, sir, I did. I just went into that mode. You got to go get it and go chase the ball down and try to be a muncher on the field, man.
Short and sweet, but energetic. And he talked about that energy that coach is preaching and how everyone, that you have to kind of get to the ball.
For sure, we had a great energy, and everybody wanted to get to the ball. Everybody wanted to showcase their talent today, and I was very excited for that.
And that comes from Coach Gibson, as we have alluded to. The standard, you got to be good on defense. That's the standard. And Coach Gibson talked about how these guys were just flying around, and that's what he expects.
Yeah, that's the standard, and they know that. I told them day one they're going to get coached different on that side of the ball. That's my background. That's what got me to this job, and we're going to be aggressive, we're going to be tough, and we're going to fly around. And if you can't, you're not going to be a part of this.
So what's that like for Gilmore, knowing that you've got that coach's eye on you almost at all times?
Coach Gibson, most definitely a critical guy. He most definitely be on us about running to the ball. So that's his main priority, getting to the ball before anything.
All right, there you have it. That is J.B. Gilmore. We heard a little earlier from Boogie Trotter and Carlos Del Rio Watson, three of the more notable names that stood out from the spring game. Our text line this hour, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Our final segment for today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Stick around after the show. We got baseball coming up. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on Washington. That is coming up tonight. 6:40 is going to be first pitch. We go on the air at 6:15 right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. The Reds got the series sweep over the Pirates with a 4-0 victory yesterday. Not a good weekend in the Queen City for the Pirates, and a sad day in baseball for Cincinnati Reds fans. Longtime Cincinnati Reds second baseman Tommy Helms passed away Sunday. He was 83. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is our text line. One more time, brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop. We are, of course, getting set for baseball action tomorrow here after the show. Marshall will play host to West Virginia. Christian Palmer will have the call. That's going to immediately follow our show, so I hope you stick around for the Herd and the Mountaineers. And, of course, if you're going to the game, take your radio with you. You can listen to the game while you're there. And, of course, if you can't make it, we got you covered. You can also listen to it on our stream. All you have to do is go to our website, wrvc.com, or you can download the app. Also, the link available, making it easy for you at wrvc.com. I got a couple more sound bites. We cleaned up a couple of the things that were missing when we had some trouble a few minutes ago. So I do apologize for that. Sometimes we've got problems with the computer, but I think we've cleared that up. I really wanted to talk a little bit more about Boogie Trotter. One thing that Coach said about Boogie, just liked the way that he performed in the secondary. And you're going to hear more and more when the defense does something good. I think Coach is happier when the defense does something good. But he had some things to say about Boogie.
Yeah, I thought he made a really good play on the quick game, the RPO. He jumped it and made a hell of a play. And obviously. Points on the board, good to see.
It's good to see because there's a lot of talk about how these corners are coached like safeties, and Boogie explained a little bit more about that.
It's really crazy because, like, we get taught versatile, basically. We got to know how to do everything in the defensive back room. So, like, as the corners, we get taught as safeties, and the safeties get taught as corners. Also with the nickel back. So, really, so everybody can be versatile. We never know who might go down and who might have to step in. So, we really just got to learn everything, you feel, ins and outs of defense. And that really helped us make more plays like we did today. I think we had like 4 interceptions. Everybody just versatile, playing their thing and doing what we're supposed to do.
That is defensive back Boogie Turner. I think that he's going to be one of our favorite players. Another one of our favorite players is probably going to be Carlos Del Rio Wilson. And the one thing I will say about how Coach Gibson has approached this, these guys seem to be really likable and they want to be here, and that's been what he's been preaching. So it shows. They're guys that want to be here. The fountain ceremony is probably a good example of that. It seemed like most, if not everybody, came to the fountain ceremony to see it, to be a part of it, and you got that impression that it was something that was important for them to see for the first time or to be a part of. And I really like the composure that these young men have shown so far. I like how they approach everything, not just the game, just the fan interaction. A lot of these guys, probably this is the most interaction they've had in their careers as college players, being come the transfer portal. I mean, there are a lot of schools that are bigger schools that maybe you don't see this kind of interaction. So that was kind of one of the impressions I got takeaway from this. And also, I'm not going to lie to you, I know offense sells tickets, but I'm going to go right back to that cliche, defense wins you championships. Offense sells tickets, defense wins you championships. And I'm okay with having a good offense and a really great defense. And if that's going to be the case, this is going to be fun. That's going to be a lot more fun for me. Honestly, I liked what I saw. I liked the way this coach is handling this team. And I liked a lot of the players when I met them. I mean, it was hard not to – every player I talked to, it was hard not to like that player. And I'm confident in the quarterback situation. It's spring ball, and I'm confident already in the quarterback situation. Now we're going to go back and look at this audio a few months from now to see if I was right. But at this moment, I think we got a quarterback. And the competition's still open, though. So it's still anyone's game, but my money right now, the way he performed, the way he handled himself, the way he presented himself, Carlos Del Rio Wilson's probably going to be your starting quarterback. But to Coach Gibson's credit, we shall see. It's still not a done day. All right, we will be back with you tomorrow here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Don't forget, we've got baseball action as well. Herd taking on the Mountaineers. Hopefully the weather will hold. And, of course, we will bring it to you. If you can't go, just get our streaming app. If you need to listen to it that way, you can listen to it on the website. And, of course, you know the old-fashioned way right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. Thanks for being a part of it. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Until then, have a great night, everyone.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRBC, W231BS Huntington.